getting good jobs. Well, under this president, they haven't. He said he was going to borrow, as you recall, almost $1 trillion, borrow the $1 trillion, and by virtue of doing that, he would keep unemployment from ever getting as high as 8%. Keep it below 8%. It has not been below 8% for the last 39 straight months. So by his own measure, he's failed. And then he said he'd measure progress by whether people can pay their mortgage. I think you heard my story about mortgages. We've had a record number of foreclosures, and Florida, boy, there's no place that's been harder hit than Florida. He said he'd measure progress by whether incomes were going up or going down. Well, since he's been president, the average household income has dropped by $4,000 a year. So by his own measure, it's not worked. There was another area during his campaign he said he would focus on. You see, he was very critical of his predecessor for the debts the predecessor put in place. Yep. And it sure is true that you can't blame one party or the other for all the debts that this country has, because both parties have, in my opinion, spent too much and borrowed too much when they were in power. But he was very critical of his predecessor because the predecessor put together $4 trillion of debt over 8 years. This president, however, oh, by the way, he said that doing that was unpatriotic, irresponsible, and unpatriotic. And he said he would cut the debt in half if he became president. Instead, he doubled it, all right? He doubled it. And you see that clock back there. Gosh, when we put that clock up, we made that clock back in the New Hampshire primary days, and it began with 14 back then. Now it's 15,685. It'll be 16 coming soon. It is not at all what he promised. This presidency has been a disappointment, and the people who've been hurt by this disappointment are the American people, and that's why we're going to get him out of office coming up.